Hey, this is Paula Hines Lonergan, and in watching the Dr. Christina Blasey Ford interview in connection to the hearing with Judge Kavanaugh, it has brought up a lot of commentary. And first of all, I want to say that in my expressions, I may be referring or relating to people that, are in politics, but I'm not political. I'm not taking sides. I'm not saying who's a liar and who's the truth. So I'm not making a political statement by any means. So do not get this confused by any means. But I did want to talk about from the standpoint of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and healing from that. That's where my education lies, in focusing on that. And Dr. Ford's testimony has brought up a lot of, like I said, commentary and discussion. I watched one group of women that were discussing the fact that, well, I don't know if it's really happened or maybe it did, and I'm not about that. What Dr. Ford said is her truth, okay? And I'm not going to question her truth. But it's interesting that in one of the circles of women talking, one lady says, well, was it really that bad? It was just a touch, if what Dr. Ford says is her truth and what she says happened, then who is anyone else to say it's just anything? And it's interesting because in the book, The Courage to Heal by Ellen Bass and Laura Davis, on page 96, there's a section that's called Believing It Mattered, and the section starts off talking about how some women may have clear memory of the fact that they abused, but they were abused, and, without a doubt, but they downplay it. And some of the things that they might say, I'm going to read it verbatim from the book. Some of the things that some survivors of abuse may say, well, it wasn't incest, it was just a friend of the family. Others may say, I was 14 and it only happened once. He showed me to the movies. Or it was my sister, she was only 2 years older than me. So these are some of the things that abuse victims, abuse survivors may say, downplaying their own abuse. And then you have other people that may say, well, I don't think the man actually, he didn't rape you, so, so that's not really like an assault, or that's no big deal. The book, The Courage to Heal, says the severity of abuse should not be defined in terms of male genitals. Okay, so I'm reading it verbatim from the book. The violation is determined by your experience, your body, your feelings, your spirit. And the frequency of the abuse is not at issue either. It only takes one time or one instance or one event or one experience to take away a child's ability to see the world the way they did prior to whatever happened to them. It's important to recognize that a violation of personal self is a violation. If something is not desired, then it's a violation. And, personally, victims, survivors of abuse need to not underestimate the abuse that they suffered. They need to not allow others to underestimate the abuse or its effects. And others should not assume that it wasn't that bad. If a person comes to you and says, this is what happened to me, it's the individual and how they felt about what happened that matters. Time's up for me to be silent. My email address is timesupforsilence@gmail.com. Paula Hines Lonergan, and I'm about healing, education. And one of my rule books, or one of the books I use and rely on and encourage others to read, is Courage to Heal, because it doesn't just say how we as victims and survivors can cope and heal, but also how others should display a certain amount of sympathy if they can't have empathy for victims as well. All right, let's be in touch.